Cincinnati or Kansas City? Two cities, almost the same price tag, almost the same paycheck, that same friendly Midwestern smile. And yet, pick the wrong one and you can spend the next 10 years in a place that never quite felt like yours. Cincinnati or Kansas City? On paper, they look like twins. In person, they feel like two completely different lives. So before you load up a moving truck and bet your family's future on one of them, please watch this video first. And stick around to the end, because what decides this for most families is not the price of a house. It is one quiet little detail on a map that almost no one talks about, and we will show it to you before we're done. Here's the truth. We're not going to sit here and pretend that Cincinnati is perfect and that Kansas City is a parking lot. They're both wonderful cities. In fact, one of my best friends lives in Kansas City and he loves it. This is about helping you find your fit, not selling you a zip code. So we're the Chabris Group, and Greater Cincinnati is our backyard. Last year alone, we served 613 families in their moves. And that means that we've sat across the kitchen table from first-time buyers, families trading up, and people moving here from all over the country, all in a single year. We have walked these neighborhoods in the rain, in the snow, and on those perfect October Saturdays. So when we compare these two cities, it's based on real-time, on-the-ground data, not some Google search. So let's put both cities on the table and look at them directly, starting with the question everybody asks first. What $300,000 actually buys in each city? So let's talk about the money, because that's usually where the dream meets the spreadsheet. According to Redfin, the typical home in Cincinnati recently sold for around $285,000. In Kansas City, that number sits closer to $305,000. So right out of the gate, Cincinnati gives you a little more room in your budget. But really, these two are so close. Close enough that the price tag alone should not pick your city for you. And here's the part that matters most. Compared with the rest of the country, where the typical home costs well over $400,000, both of these cities are a bargain. You're getting a real house with a real yard and a garage for money that would barely cover a starter condo in Denver or Austin. And that is the Midwestern secret. Your dollar just means more here. The real question is, which city lets you live the life you actually want once you own that house? So let's follow the money a little further. Number two, where your paycheck goes further day to day. A house is one thing, but your real budget is also groceries and gas and daycare and dinner out on Friday night, right? So here's where it gets kind of interesting. According to Redfin, both cities are below the national average for the cost of living and are remarkably close to each other. In plain language, your paycheck stretches in both places. You will not move from one to the other and suddenly feel rich or broke. The grocery bill, the utility bill, price of a pizza, it's all about the same. So if you were hoping that one of these cities would be the clear money winner, we gotta be straight with you here. It's basically a wash. And that's good news, right? Because it means you get to choose your city based on the things that make life feel good, the lifestyle, not just the things that make a calculator happy. Which brings me now to the part that no spreadsheet can measure, the feel. Chili, barbecue, and two very different souls. This is where the twins stop looking so much alike. Kansas City, it's got big, open, wide shoulder feel, right? It just spreads out. World famous barbecue, beautiful fountains everywhere, and deep jazz roots, and a sports town energy that you can feel on game day. I hate to admit it, but the Chiefs are pretty good. It's friendly, it's proud, and it's a little bit cowboy. Now, Cincinnati is older, tighter, a little more textured than later. It's a beautiful river city built on 7 hills, so you're always like turning a corner and catching a new view, right? We have our own oddball chili that we locals are quite passionate about, and a downtown and an over-the-Rhine district full of brick and history and activity and neighborhoods that feel like kind of their own little town. And we still got the Bengals, which one of these days we're gonna turn the corner. There's a rootedness here. People do not just live in Cincinnati, they are from Cincinnati, even the ones who moved here last year. When we work with families coming in from out of town, this is the thing that they tell us they just did not expect. Cincinnati kind of gets its hooks into you fast. You know, the neighbors wave and the barista remembers your order. It feels small, but in the best way, even though it's a really big city. So now, before we go further, let's pause for just one quick thing, because the next half of this video is where the real estate decision lives. So far, the prices and the costs of these cities are close, and the real difference is how each city feels. But the single biggest factor, the map trick that decides this for most families, is still coming. But before we get there, if you're even thinking about making a move to Greater Cincinnati, I don't care whether it's in Ohio or Kentucky, grab our free relocation guide. The link is in the description, or scan the QR code on the screen. It's the same playbook we hand to each of our clients. All right, so let's get back to it. Number 4, traffic commutes, and getting your weekends back. One of the quiet joys of Midwestern life is time that you're not stuck in a car. According to the US Census Bureau, the average American spends about 27.5 minutes getting to work one way. In Cincinnati, that drops to about 25 minutes, and in Kansas City, it's closer to 23 minutes. Both beat the national average, and both crush what you would face in Chicago or Atlanta, where you can lose an hour each way and never get that time back. Kansas City is flatter and a bit more spread out, so you tend to drive a bit further to get what you want. Cincinnati is more compact, right? So much of life happens within that 15 or 20 minute zone of your home. And that is wrong. It just comes down to whether you like elbow room or whether you like everything closer. Either way, you're buying back your evenings. That is a Saturday at the park with your kids instead of a Saturday stuck in traffic. And that leads us to the one thing that we promised you, the one detail that quietly tips the whole decision. Number 5, the map trick that nobody talks about. So here it is, that thing that we hinted at in the very first minute. Pull up a map of the United States and you'll look at where Cincinnati sits. It's parked right in the middle of the eastern half of the country, close to a line where the East Coast meets the heartland. From here, a huge slice of the country is within a single day's drive. Chicago, Nashville, Indianapolis, Columbus, Louisville, Lexington, even the Smoky Mountains and the edges of the East Coast, all reachable in a long day in the car. Now, Kansas City, it sits more in the open center of the plains. It's a wonderful hub, but it's more of an island. The big neighbors are further apart, and a weekend road trip becomes a much bigger commitment. Why does this matter? Well, because life is not just where you live. Life is where you can easily go. And when we work with families whose parents are in another state, who love long weekends away, or who travel for work, this is the detail that changes everything. From Cincinnati, you're never really that far from anywhere. That is the map trick. It looks boring, and it quietly shapes the years of your life. So once the money question is a tie, this is the kind of thing that actually breaks that tie. And it leads right into the last piece, where you would actually plant your roots. Number 6, so which city feels like home for your family? If you choose Cincinnati, the next question is, well, which Cincinnati? Because the magic here is the diversity of neighborhoods. Do you want top-rated schools in a true family suburb? Well, you probably want to look at Mason and Westchester, where families move in and frankly, they never leave. If you're craving charm and walkable streets and a little buzz, for sure, Hyde Park is hard to beat. And if you love leafy, established feel with great access to everything, Montgomery and Blue Ash are exactly that. Or if you want city energy and history at your doorstep, downtown and over the Rhine deliver. And if you want a little more space, good schools, and a settled family vibe, Anderson Township checks that box. This is the gift that Cincinnati gives you. It's not one city. It is a dozen little worlds, and one of them is going to feel like the place where you were always supposed to live. So when we sit down with a family, this is the fun part, matching the people to the pocket of the city that fits how they actually want to live. So let's put it all together. Here is the whole thing in one breath. Prices are close, the cost of living is close, and so the real choice is not about a number. It's about the kind of life that you want to wake up to every morning. And here is the number one mistake we see people make. They choose a city from a spreadsheet. They line up all the median prices, pick the cheaper one by a few $1,000s, and never once stand on the street, smell the air, or watch the neighbors walk their dogs at dusk. A house is a purchase. A city is your daily life for the next 10 years. They're not the same decision. So here's one easy thing that you can do this week. Pick a Cincinnati neighborhood. Pick one that you have no strong opinion about. Maybe Blue Ash, maybe it's Anderson, maybe it's Hyde Park. And go spend a Saturday there, right? Get a coffee, walk it, see if your shoulders drop, right? Does it feel right? That one Saturday will tell you more than looking at over 100 listings. Because the right city does not just give you a house. It gives you a place where your kids grow up, where you make friends that you'll keep you the rest of your life, and where one day you may catch yourself saying that you're from here. That's the life. That's what the right choice unlocks, and it's closer than you think. So if Cincinnati is calling you even a little, let's talk. Helping families land in the right neighborhood is exactly what we do every single day. Reach out to us at the Chabris Group, and we will give you the real, local, on-the-ground insight that you cannot get from an app. No pressure. It's just two people figuring out if this is your place. And if you want the direct, unfiltered breakdown before you commit, watch this next one. Living in Cincinnati, the pros and cons of 2026. Please watch it before you move. I'm going to cover the good, the not so good, and everything you deserve to know before you load that truck. I'll see you in the next video.